What a fantastic talk from Ida. I can't follow that up, but maybe I can give you something a little bit lighter, partially to wake you up and partially to amuse you. So here's what I want to tell you about. Some of the inspiration for the questions comes from, for example, things like this. One periodically sees statements like this, and in fact, I had a thing in there towards the end about Llama 3.1. It depends on who you ask, but there are hundreds of billions of parameters. One gets the feeling that when people in machine learning are saying these things, they're quite proud of the number of parameters and how big they are. As a card-carrying mathematician, I'm definitely suspicious. In fact, I would be sort of embarrassed to say that I need 405 billion parameters. There's this famous line from von Neumann that if you give him with 4 parameters, he can make an elephant, and with 5, he can make the tail wiggle. So behind the frivolity of those statements is a serious question, which is, how much data do you need to learn something, as opposed to keeping a database? And in particular, are there systems that can learn from small data, can learn very complicated concepts from very small data? There are, and this is one of them. He's called Arjuna, due to his friends. And he's 3, well, he was 3 when this video was taken. He's just turned 4. His favorite activity is being taken shopping after the nursery pickup so that he can show me all the vegetables and other products that he knows, that he's like sort of learned, right? So let's see if this video works. With the audio, the thing, I mean, he'll show you that he knows loads of things, he's very clever, but in particular, he's never seen oil before. He's seen other liquids, but he's never seen olive oil. I think maybe he had seen them in a frying pan or something, but he'd never seen it in a receptacle. So let's see if it works.
Example.
Yeah, it's a soft example. What's that?
It's a bacon.
Yeah, it's a bacon. Yeah. It's a.
It's a cheese.
Yeah, it's a cheese. Yeah. It's a.
It's a tomato.
It's a what kind of tomatoes?
Baby tomato.
Yeah, it's a baby tomato. Yeah. It's a.
It's a spinach.
Yeah, it's a spinach. Yeah. Okay, here we go. It's a.
It's a tea.
Yeah, it's a tea. It's a.
It's a flower.
No, it's not. It's a coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah, it's a powder like flour, but it's a.
It's a radish.
Yeah, it's a radish. It's a.
It's a sweet potato.
Well done. Yeah, what's this thing?
It's a pear.
It is a pear. Yeah. It's a.
It's a ham.
Yeah. Well done. It's a.
It's a chicken.
Yeah. It's a.
It's a cheese.
It's a cheese. Yeah. Well done. It's a.
It's a love
Yeah. It's a le poisson. That one's in French for some reason. It's.
It's a bacon.
Yep. It's a bacon. We're almost there. It's a.
It's a flower.
And this one.
It's a juice.
It's a.
It's a oil.
Yeah. So he's learned the oil. He's learned the oil, right? And he was confused because he'd seen flour before, because I make bread for him by hand. And he's also seen salt and pepper, so he just thought it was flour. One more. So then I added another. I was like, okay, I'm going to experiment on my child, right? So I'm going to add another powder, another kind of powder. So, and I couldn't really find one in the store, so mozzarella, right? Mozzarella is a shredded cheese, right? So I was like, okay, let's, I think it's time to review the special shopping. Okay, here we go. It's a.
It's a daddy milk.
That's right. It's a.
It's a judge's milk.
It's a.
It's a ham snack.
Correct. It's a.
It's
Medicine.
medicine.
It's a.
It's a tomato juice.
It's a.
It's a juice.
Yeah. It's a. It's for wipe your bum.
Rugby ball.
Yeah, wipe your bum. Yeah, it's a. It's to wipe your bum.
It's a tomato picture.
Yep. It's a.
It's a sweet potato.
And a.
It's a monster potato.
It's a.
It's a orange pepper.
Correct. It's orange pepper. Well done. It's a.
It's a popcorn.
Yep. Okay. It's a.
It's a
Yes, it's a baby cucumbers. Well done. Excellent. Yes, it's a.
It's a juice.
Yeah, it's a juice. Okay. All right. The hard things. It's a. Well, it's powder, but it's not a coffee, and it's not a flour. What is it? What is it called? It's a powder cheese. It's a powder cheese. It's a powder cheese.
It's a powder cheese.
Yeah, that's a powder cheese. Okay.
It's not a powder cheese.
It's a, yeah, it's not a. It's a powder like flour, but it's not a flour. It's a powder cheese. Yeah, it's like.
It's a powder. It's not a powder cheese.
It's a powder cheese. Yeah. Okay. It's. So, apparently, the introduction of the powder cheese, he was basically like, "That's it. The old man has lost the plot." But actually, jokes aside, I think what was happening is that he had to redefine what powder was. And actually, this series of videos led our colleague Ilya, who unfortunately could not be here because of things over the Atlantic, but he and a team at Princeton to write this excellent paper which just came out, which essentially studies what would be the limits of this process, and they show that given k examples, one can learn to the power k binary features, which is perhaps not that surprising, but also that given k carefully chosen and labeled examples, one can in theory learn 2 to the power of k minus 1 combinations essentially, which is fascinating, and I urge you to read the paper. It's an excellent theoretical study, and in particular, in the acknowledgements, Juju is mentioned. So at the age of 3, he's already impacting cutting-edge artificial intelligence research. So that's great news. If you guys have any openings at DeepMind or Microsoft, let me know. I mean, we need the money, that's for sure. So, are there other systems that learn from very small data? There are. The immune system, which is what we do in my day-to-day existence at King's, at Guy's Hospital. So I'm sure you know this from high school, but maybe a refresher essentially, very briefly, in the interest of time. What happens is that when the immune system sees a new thing, an antigen that it's never seen before, it keeps essentially a record of it so that it can presumably respond much faster the second time it sees it, right? So this would seem to be, it's very difficult to imagine how life would work without this, right? You see COVID-19 or E. coli or some other pathogen once, and then there's a population of B cells that produces antibodies, and there's another population of B cells that are able to clonally expand very quickly. There are also T cells, which have complicated roles, including regulating them. But this is a key aspect of how the immune system works and defends you, in particular so that it can mount a much faster response the second time. It doesn't have to wait until you have loads of viral copies, for example. I'm happy to talk about that, but in the interest of time, I'll just move along. I would just say, though, that this paradigm would seem, first of all, it seems extremely different to how Juju learns, powder cheese. But in particular, learning clearly is indispensable to our defense from pathogens, right? So how indispensable is it, right? Are there any animals that do not have such a method for learning anything at all? If anybody is brave enough to take a guess, what percentage of animals do not have, get by without, is it possible to even get by without an adaptive immune system? None. Anyone else? Yeah, you know the answer, yeah. 97%. 97% of animals do not have an adaptive immune system, and in some respects, therefore, don't really have an immune system. And in particular, it appears with jaws. Everybody who doesn't have a jaw doesn't have an adaptive immune system. We don't know why it's the jaw, but it raises some pretty uncomfortable questions about whether we're wrong about everything in immunology, because here's a crayfish. It lives in the same waters, subject to the same pathogens, it's about the same size as a shark. The shark has a little jaw, the crayfish doesn't have a jaw. They both live about 40 years in the same water with the same problems, the same issues. So why would the shark need this extraordinarily complex system which leads to autoimmunity and loads of other problems? It's very energetically expensive to maintain, while the crayfish, along with the other 97% of all the animals, and when I say animals, I mean metazoans like us, not single-celled things, animals. Clearly get by just fine and don't need one. And this sort of thing suggests, amongst other things, that the immune system might not be for defense, or at least might not have emerged in order to do defense, and that was a function. The learning capability was then later co-opted to allow us to fight pathogens. And you can basically imagine how popular this theory makes me in the immunology department where I work, to say that not only it's not for defense, but they're also wrong about everything that they have ever said about the immune system. There are some other uncomfortable questions. The immune repertoire, which is the size of the database that the immune system can keep of pathogens. We have about 1,000 pathogens that predate on mammals. Even if you wanted to keep about 1,000-fold more memory so you could respond to variations, you would need to store about 1 million things, and that's fairly generous, actually. It has the capability of storing 10 to the power of 18, so it's at least 1 billion times larger, potentially more, even more than that, than it needs to be, and which not only could not be executed, you just become a lump of B cells, basically. So it's like, why do we keep a database that's 1 billion times larger, associated with all the problems? And so, obviously those are two very different systems, but they invite some questions about what one can do with small data. How do you learn without a model? One can track the origins of the word, and at least in English it means it comes from something like to follow or to find the track. And we argue that pretty much by definition, learning implies something about fitting a very strong model to data as opposed to simply memory. And finally, it invites, I guess, an even more provocative question, which is we just assume that learning is critical to intelligence, but a lot of these animals are extremely intelligent. And yet they don't need to learn to respond intelligently, and there's nothing more path critical than being able to defend yourself from bugs. So maybe learning is not as important to intelligence as we think it is, or at least not in some contexts. Let me just say a word of acknowledgements. This is my group. One of us couldn't make it, unfortunately, due to visa issues, but we're having a nice time, and I think we're learning. Rory and James and our other friends who have put so much effort into this conference, Ilya and our other colleagues who couldn't make it, the volunteers who've made this all happen, and especially Miriam and you for participating. And if I have one more minute, I only need one more, since it's been a kind of a light talk, maybe end with something a little darker. But hopeful. We are rightly appalled at what some of the things that are happening politically, and not just across the pond, but in other places. We're rightly appalled. We talk about it all the time. But just because something is appalling, the history of life, and particularly the history of the immune system, teaches us that just because something is appalling doesn't necessarily mean that it is ultimately bad. And sometimes bad developments can lead to good long-term changes, and sometimes really good things. Everyone can think of examples, like having rich parents, for example, can lead to ultimately maladaptive things. So I think it's not completely clear. It's completely clear that what's happening is appalling, but it's not completely clear that it is ultimately bad. And it made me think of a 19th century poem called Morte d'Arthur. If you're not British, and even if you are, you may not have heard it, but it's by Alfred Lord Tennyson, who you have heard of. In this poem, King Arthur and his Camelot knights have been defeated by the forces of evil, basically, and all the knights of the Round Table are dead. Arthur is injured and dying, and with him is the last remaining knight, who is called Bedivere, Sir Bedivere, who's sort of looking after him while he's dying. And that's basically the typical kind of rendition of that. There's a barge that's coming to take Arthur to Avalon, which is sort of Celtic heaven. And Sir Bedivere, who is appalled about what's happening across the pond, I guess, says, well, maybe I can read it to you. Lord Arthur, whither shall I go? Where shall I hide my forehead and my eyes? For now I see the true old times are dead, when every morning brought a noble chance, and every chance brought out a noble knight. Such times have been not since the light that led the holy elders with the gift of myrrh. But now the whole round table is dissolved, which was an image of the mighty world, and I, the last, go forth companionless. And the days darken round me, and the years, among new men, strange faces, other minds. And Arthur, who at this point is already on the barge to Avalon, accompanied by 3 fairy princesses, responds rather philosophically, I think, something for us to reflect on. that the old order changeth, yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world. And I hope you will spend a few moments reflecting on this perspective on current events.